The battle between Shunsui, Kyoraku, and Lil Baro continues, and it's sink or swim in this week's chapter of Bleach. Before you guys watch my review, I just want to let you guys know that both Christian and I just did a interview podcast with Dracast Lighting. If you guys want to check it out, it'll be in the description box below. There will be more details at the end of this video. But now, let's get back on track. This week's chapter of Bleach was really surprising for a number of reasons. One, I knew that Lil Baro was not going to be defeated in just one or two chapters. He definitely comes back fighting in this one. But I think the biggest surprise of this week's chapter is actually getting to see the manifested spirit of Shunsui Kyoraku Zanpakuto, which just so happens to have the same exact design and personality of the character who was seen in the Zanpakuto filler arc from the Bleach anime series. Color me surprised, but I'm actually kind of glad to see this character return because I always felt that she had a really cool design, and this is actually the woman who was draped around Shunsui all those chapters ago. And when she returns in this one, you really get to see how her personality is basically like a more intense female version of Shunsui's, and she doesn't take any of his crap. Her name is Sakuranosuke, and she is really freaking awesome. I'm actually kind of curious to see if the other little Zanpakuto spirit is going to return, because he technically had two. He, of course, had Sakuranosuke, and then there was the weird little ninja girl. I wonder if she's going to be popping up at any time. That being said, the battle in this week's chapter was intense as all crap, because basically they're still fighting in the water, getting to see who's going to survive, who's going to sink first. But Lil Baro constantly manages to just keep attacking, and that's when Shunsui decides to unleash his final ability, which actually causes his entire throat to get slit open and then explode in a blinding flash of light. Now, this would typically be the end of just about any other character, but Lil Baro is one of the main guards of the Quincy leader, so he has another ace in the hole. In fact, at the very end of this week's chapter, Shunsui is hanging out with his Zanpakuto spirit, and out of nowhere, this giant light just explodes into his chest, this giant beam of death. And both Shunsui and Sakuranosuke are completely freaked out by this when you suddenly see all of this energy rising up into the air, which actually takes the form of a human skull. It looks pretty damn creepy. So what's the rundown on this week's chapter of Bleach? A very simple but a very surprising and fun chapter of Bleach, which had some fantastic artwork, and I love that they're making use of the designs of those Zanpakuto spirits from that filler arc of the Bleach anime series. Just reading this chapter just made me wish that the anime would return, filler and all. I miss it so much. That being said, this week's chapter was a really great read, and it also had some fantastic artwork, especially in all of the attack scenes, especially that big throat explosion technique that Shunsui did, where he does that one big single slash against the white panel, and then suddenly you see that small little slit in Lil Baro's neck, which just explodes out. It looks really violent and ridiculous, and that should have been the end of that character, but they're not going to let him go that easily. This is Bleach, by the way. These guys do not go out without a fight, and usually in an extremely violent fashion. But again, my favorite thing about this chapter is just getting to see Sakuranosuke, because she's just got such an amazingly cool design. The eye patch, the skull emblem, the weird freaky skull skeleton things on her head. I don't know, she's a really weird and creepy character. I just know that I really like her, and I really would like to see some of the other Zanpakuto spirits from the filler arc show up, because they were some pretty interesting characters, and they definitely had some cool design. I also really enjoyed the writing in this week's chapter, in particular the interactions between Shunsui and his Zanpakuto spirit, Sakuranosuke. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that they are very similar, but they're also very different in many senses. Especially Shunsui, who always tries to play the role of like the cool, calm, collected guy who just wants to be there to save all the ladies and look like a badass ladies man. But Sakuranosuke is not going to stand for any of that, and she doesn't take any of his bullshit in this chapter. She even goes as far as to try and pluck one of his eyeballs out in this chapter. This is, of course, all followed by Shunsui giving one of his classic expressions, which is just funny and actually cuts through a little bit of the tension in this week's chapter. So, good artwork, fantastic writing, some really cool action scenes, the return of a fan-favorite filler character, which I think is really awesome. I love that they actually can incorporate that into the manga series. I think that's really cool. cool. Because like I said, I think the designs of those Zanpakuto spirits, for the most part, were pretty freaking awesome. So hopefully we'll see more of those guys pop up. I know there's going to be plenty more surprises in the final arc of Bleach. That being said, I really liked this chapter quite a bit. For every single part of it. The writing, the action, the artwork, the characters, the tension, the mood, the atmosphere, and the cliffhanger ending. This was an awesome chapter of Bleach. So I'm going to give it a 5 out of 5. Check it out, Bleach fans, if you're reading the manga version, and especially if you watch the anime version. Check out this week's chapter. There's going to be a few surprises and probably something that you're going to like. But before you guys leave today, I want to hear your thoughts about this week's chapter of Bleach. What did you think about the battle of Lil Baro and Shunsui Kyoraku? Do you think that Shunsui was defeated at the end of this chapter? Do you think he has another level of attack that he hasn't revealed quite yet? Do you think the other Zanpakuto spirit is going to show up? What do you want to see from the coming chapters in the final arc of the Bleach series? Please tell me in the comment section below. Thank you guys for watching this video. Make sure to like it and share it with your friends and subscribe to the channel. But before you guys leave today, I just want to do a quick shout out to a video that Christian and I just did. We were on the Dracast Lighting podcast. We were with them for a full hour and we were talking a little bit how we got Super Kami started up and also what we do outside of Super Kami. So if you guys want to learn a little bit more about what we actually do for a living and about us personally, make sure to check out that show. I'll put a link for it in the description box below. If you could, please like that video and share it with somebody or maybe even leave a comment. We would really appreciate it. But as always, the best way to support our channel is to simply watch our videos, comment on them, and to share them with your friends, which you guys are always doing, so thank you so much. So without further ado, I will see you next time, guys. And as always, stay dandy, baby!